Hey guys, tonight we are starting somewhere you absolutely don't want to be lying in the dirt, in the pitch black chill of the prehistoric world, with no clothes, no words, no fire, and nothing but your own breath to remind you you're alive. Your eyes flutter open, not that it matters much. The moon hangs low and full, casting a pale glow across jagged stones and swaying grass. You don't know what the moon is, of course. You only know that when it rises, things that crunch and growl start moving nearby. You're the first human, not metaphorically, literally. You feel your skin shiver against the breeze, and every rustle makes your heartbeat spike. Trees creak. Somewhere in the dark, something growls, long and low. You haven't slept since the sun dipped below the mountains, but sleep means stillness, and stillness could mean teeth. So yeah, welcome to the origin of human sleep, a time when drifting off might get you eaten, trampled, or frozen stiff. You probably won't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me where you're watching from, and what time it is there. I love seeing how far this sleepy tribe stretches. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You hunch beneath an overhang of limestone, bare feet tucked against your chest. Your knees are scraped raw, your hair is tangled with mud, and there's a piece of bark in your mouth you forgot to spit out earlier. But none of that matters. Right now, you're just trying to not die before the sun comes up again. Because here's the deal before beds. Bedtime routines, or lavender-scented humidifiers. Sleep was raw, primitive, painfully inconvenient, and your body. It was designed to sleep in fits and starts, under duress, with all senses half alert. There's no REM cycle to speak of. Just moments of semi-conscious collapse between bouts of sheer, cortisol-pumping terror. Historians still argue whether early humans were strictly diurnal, sleeping mostly at night, or if our ancient ancestors were more flexible napping when they could, especially in the day, when the predators slept too. What's agreed on is that bedtime wasn't a thing. Not yet. Your breath fogs in the air. You stare at the stars. No names for them yet. Just cold, flickering eyes watching you from above. And still, sleep pulls at you. That heavy, irresistible tug behind your eyelids. It doesn't care if you're safe or not. Your brain, bless its mushy, overcomplicated folds, has to power down sometime, so it compromises. You learn to sleep light, quick, in sprints. You nod off, upright. You doze, ears twitching like a rabbit's. You bolt awake at the slightest snap of twigs. If anything touches your foot, you're on your feet with a stick in hand, assuming you still have a stick. Your dreams are strange, not stories, not yet. Just flashes, shapes, fear, fire, falling. You don't dream in words, your brain hasn't made them up. Instead, you get feelings, blinding, confused emotions you can't explain but can't shake, and they haunt you, even after you wake, even if you don't know what haunt means. Interestingly, scientists today speculate that early dreams may have been crucial for survival, that the chaos of dream imagery helped develop primitive problem-solving skills. Your dreams may have taught you to run, hide, or plan, all while your real body curled in fetal position on cold earth. Meanwhile, mosquitoes are discovering you're a pretty decent snack. A tree frog croaks above you. In the distance, hyenas call to one another in cracked, eerie laughter. You flinch. You don't know what laughter is, but you're sure it's not aimed at you kindly. You scoot deeper into your little hollow, your bony back against stone. It's not much of a bedroom, but compared to the open grasslands, it's something. No pillow, no blanket, just your own arm under your cheek and a few clumps of dry moss. You try not to think about the spiders living in it. What's odd is that your body knows what it's doing. Deep in your DNA, even though you've never seen a mattress, your internal systems begin to slow. Core temperature drops, muscles relax. Your brain flushes out waste through the glymphatic system. That's right, you, the world's loneliest hominid, are performing basic biological housekeeping without even knowing it. Sleep is essential even here, even now. Your memory needs it. Your immune system depends on it. And as you finally drift off, jaw slack, you join the vast, unbroken chain of living beings who must rest to keep going. That's the boring truth. Sleep isn't a luxury. It's an obligation. Something older than civilization. Older than language. Maybe even older than dreams. You're not dreaming yet. You're still half listening to the wind. Still waiting for that one footstep too close. That branch too loud. Still praying in your wordless, fireless brain that you'll wake up tomorrow still breathing. And you will. But you'll probably wake up covered in ants. You wake up with your cheek pressed against something damp, your tongue stuck to the roof of your mouth, and your entire body knotted like a twisted vine. The sun is up, barely, and something has stolen your spot. Not in a metaphorical, you've lost your place in the world kind of way. Literally something furry and smug is sitting where your butt used to be, sniffing the air as if it owns the place. It might be a jackal. It might be something worse. Either way, you're not arguing. You're just moving on. Again, sleep, for you, is a thing you chase and then abandon. You don't have a home. You don't have a concept of shelter. You've never said, "Ah, yes, this is where I live." You just exist, and occasionally flop over in tall grass, and hope nothing mistakes you for a chew toy. That's how it goes. Day after day, walk, eat, run, repeat, crash. When the sun falls and shadows grow long, you seek out the same thing every time cover. Not comfort, not even warmth, just something between you and the rest of the world. A rock ledge, a dip in the ground, the branches of a fallen tree, anything that makes it slightly harder for something to sink its teeth into your spine. Historians still argue whether the concept of home even meant anything for the first proto-humans. Shelter wasn't a structure, it was a lucky coincidence. Maybe a cave you didn't get chased out of. Maybe a ravine where the snakes hadn't moved in yet. Tonight, you find a rock shelf. It's low, only waist height, but wide enough to curl under. The ground beneath is dryish, which is a miracle in itself. And so, like the semi-hairless ape you are, you burrow into the dust and tuck your face into your elbows. But here's the kicker. While you think you've been clever, this exact spot is currently on a rotation schedule used by several local animals. You've crashed someone's den. Again, there are territorial smells baked into the soil, little scratch marks on the stone, a skull that's not entirely fossilized. Still, this is what counts as a bed for you. It's quiet, it's hidden, and your legs aren't cramping for now. You doze, lightly, maybe for 5 minutes, maybe for an hour. It's hard to tell, because clocks haven't been invented, and time isn't measured yet except by how stiff your joints feel. Sleep, it turns out, is fragmentary in this early phase of humanity. Anthropologists studying contemporary hunter-gatherer tribes found that people rarely sleep in long, uninterrupted chunks. Instead, it's little pockets here and there, interrupted by noise, hunger, weather, or anxiety. Sound familiar? Your modern brain might crave 8 full hours and blackout curtains, but your ancient biology, it's more like take 5. And don't close both eyes at the same time. You're starting to nod off again when you hear it. A low scrape, a rhythmic huffing noise, heavy paws on loose gravel. Your lungs stop. You don't move. You don't even breathe. Whatever it is, it's close. You smell it first: wet fur, meat, something uncomfortably warm and organic. Then you feel it, the weight of presence, something sniffing, something exhaling against the side of your shelter. And this is why being the first human on Earth absolutely sucks. No one's coming to help. There's no house to run into, no shotgun under the bed, no neighbors to call. You are the only species with a brain this complicated and a body this poorly defended. You've got soft skin and slower legs. The only tool at your disposal right now is a rock, and it's mostly decorative. But then, just as quickly as it arrived, the thing wolf, hyena, giant raccoon of doom loses interest. It shuffles away into the underbrush. You hear the snap of twigs, the rustle of leaves, and then nothing. Still, that's enough. You won't sleep again tonight. Not really. Not deeply. Instead, you lie there, trembling slightly, watching the first orange streaks of dawn creep across the dirt. You survived another night, but your nerves are fried. Your muscles ache. Your eyelids are sandpaper. You are so tired, and you don't even have the vocabulary to say so. Here's a fringe theory that floats around. Some evolutionary biologists speculate that human intelligence, the very thing that separates us from other animals, was driven by our terrible sleep situation. In other words, we were so bad at sleeping safely that we had to outthink the problem. We developed tools, fire, and language to make sleep less deadly. Our big brains weren't just a flex, they were a survival necessity. So yeah, maybe this relentless search for safety, for rest, is what makes you human in the first place. As the sun warms the stone around you, you finally allow your eyes to close, just for a few moments, long enough for your body to catch up, for your dreams to flicker, confused and flickery, across your tired brain. And then boom, something crawls over your leg. Ants. Again. You've walked all day again, or at least what you think is day. You don't have words for time yet. You just go when it's bright and stop when it hurts to move. Now the sky shifts from blazing white to a muted lavender grey, and your body does that thing. It always does. It starts to slow. Eyes blink longer. Thoughts get watery. Your legs drag. There's no bedtime bell. No cozy pajamas. Just the sun saying, okay, that's enough flailing around. Go lie in a bush. You pick a thicket that smells less like urine than usual and start clearing out a patch of leaves. Everything aches. Your shoulder is rubbed raw from carrying a rock you didn't need. Your feet look like cracked leather. You chew on a few bitter roots. which are less dinner and more a thing to gnaw, so your stomach doesn't stage a protest. As you settle into your new bed, you look up. There it is again, the moon. Cold, pale, oddly majestic. You don't worship it yet. That comes later, when you start making myths. For now, it's just a ghostly reminder that the world doesn't stop spinning, even when your brain wants a break. But the moonlight is problematic, because now everything else can see you too. You hear things shifting in the grass, tiny things, bigger things, and worst of all, silent things. Sleep in this world isn't restful, it's strategic. You never really fall into it. You just drift toward it, like you're peeking through a curtain. One flap open, one flap closed. One part of your brain dozing, the other still running on full predator alert. Scientists today call this unihemispheric sleep. It's how dolphins sleep with half their brain at a time so they don't drown. You, unfortunately, don't have that talent, but your early human version does something eerily similar. Your brain adopts a half-lit mode. You nap more than you sleep, always with your back to a surface, always facing the sound. Historians still argue whether humans evolved as light sleepers because of night predators, or whether it was social dynamics, like keeping track of a tribe, that made us restless snoozers. Either way, the result is the same: no blackout sleep for you. Just a foggy cycle of twitching limbs and quick jolts awake every time something moves wrong. And then there's the cold. Oh, the cold. The moonlight might be pretty, but it's also the herald of nightly frost. Your body doesn't hold heat well yet. You're mostly skin, not much fur. Your only warmth comes from curling up tight and pretending you're a rock. At some point in the night, your teeth start chattering so hard it wakes you up. Again, you curl tighter. You bury your face in leaves. And then, as your body fights for unconsciousness, you notice something again. Your brain wanders. Not far, just little flickers. A flash of a face you haven't seen. A shape that doesn't make sense. A weird feeling of falling into something deep and soft that doesn't exist in your waking life. These are the beginnings of dreams. Primitive, shapeless dreams. The kind you can't explain. The kind that vanish the second you sit up, which you do. Of course, because a bird screams above you, followed by the unmistakable crunch of something large stepping through twigs. You're awake now, fully. But that dream lingers. You can't shake it. It feels important, haunting, like it was trying to tell you something in a language you haven't invented yet. And that right there might be your first brush with imagination. It's wild to think about, but modern neuroscientists believe dreaming predates organized language, that it might have been the playground where thoughts rehearsed ideas before words existed to pin them down. Dreams, in this theory, weren't just noise, they were simulators, trial runs for emotions, for danger, for choices. So yeah, as weird as that nighttime falling sensation felt, it might have helped you not fall off a cliff the next morning. Your dream self tripped, so your real self remembered to step wide. There's even a fringe theory that our earliest myths began as misinterpreted dreams, visions, passed along clumsily through gestures and grunts, eventually snowballing into stories about gods, monsters, and moral lessons, which is a poetic way of saying your nightmares might have started religion. Nice job, sleepyhead. You wait. The footsteps pass. You lie back down, head resting on a crooked arm, shoulder bone grinding into dirt. The moon's moved slightly. Your limbs are heavy again, but your brain, it's now buzzing with weird impressions of things that didn't happen, of places you've never been. You won't remember most of it, not clearly, but the feeling, this soft, glowing confusion stays with you. Eventually, slowly, your eyes close again. You're not fully asleep, not even close, but for a few seconds, you're somewhere else, somewhere deep, somewhere you don't have to chew bark or dodge snakes, somewhere warm, and then a moth lands in your nose. Because, again, first human, no rights, no respect, just an endless loop of half naps and new irritations. Still, that glimpse of a dream, it felt almost worth it. You wake up confused, not scared, for once just foggy. The ground feels familiar, but also wrong, like someone moved it half an inch while you weren't looking. Your arms are asleep, but your legs are twitching, and your jaws sore like you were chewing on something non-existent all night. That's the thing with your dreams lately. They've started to feel real. You're not just twitching anymore, you're reaching for things, climbing things, arguing with shapes that vanish the second you blink. The dreams are getting longer, richer, and deeply frustrating, because the part of your brain that wants to tell someone, anyone about them, that part doesn't exist yet. There's no language. You haven't even invented the idea of storytelling. You can't say I had the weirdest dream because you can't say anything at all. So all you do is grunt and scratch your head and look out at the misty morning like it personally owes you an explanation. Later in human history, dreams will get their moment in the spotlight. They'll be seen as messages from gods, windows into the soul, or coded prophecies about your ex. But here and now they're just weird brain static, uninvited, unshareable, and deeply inconvenient when there are berries to scavenge. Historians still argue whether the earliest hominids even understood the concept of dreams being different from reality. Were they confused by them? Afraid of them? Did they think dreams were a kind of spirit journey, or just shrugged it off like, ugh, night brain doing its thing again? We may never know, but what is clear is that your brain is trying to multitask. It's processing your fears, your memories, your half-formed plans, all without your permission. And it's doing this while you're flat on your back, exposed, vulnerable, probably drooling. That's not great, because in case you've forgotten, you still live in a world where everything wants to eat you. You get up slowly, brushing dead leaves off your chest, and start walking. You don't have a destination. You never do. You follow the path of least resistance, where your feet don't hurt quite as much, where the air doesn't smell like predator pee. You pass a tree that looks vaguely familiar and realize you're probably circling your own footprints from yesterday. Again, the sun creeps higher, your eyes squint, your body is awake, but your mind is lagging behind. Sleep deprivation is not a new invention. You're living proof. You are always tired, chronically, consistently. The line between waking and dreaming is blurrier than your vision right now. You stumble on a root, curse in a grunt, and nearly faceplant into a patch of thistles. Congratulations, you've invented morning grumpiness. You nap that afternoon under a tree sitting upright, arms wrapped around your knees. It's not comfortable, but it's quick. A 20-minute power dose. No dreams this time, just blackout. And honestly, that feels like progress. One quirky tidbit here. Some researchers believe early humans had segmented sleep 2 distinct phases in the night, with a waking period in between. During that twilight break, they might have told stories, made tools, or just stared at the stars and listened for predators. It's possible your ancestors weren't meant to sleep in a solid 8-hour block. They were built to drift in and out, nap here, crash there, always ready to bolt. You don't know that yet. Of course, you're too busy chasing a lizard with a rock. By the time the sun drops below the trees, you're beat, utterly fried. Your body aches in that deep, marrow-level way that comes from using muscles in ways evolution definitely didn't sign off on. You pick another half-decent hollow, a little dip between roots, padded with old moss, and drop in like a sack of regret. The stars come out. The moon rises again. You hate it a little less this time. Sleep grabs you faster now. There's no tossing, no adjusting a pillow, no checking your imaginary phone. You're out. And that's when it happens again. The dream. It's not just flashes now. It's a scene. Something familiar. You're back by the river. The water's glowing. There's someone else, another person, but their face is a blur, like looking through smoke. They reach for you, and you feel something. Connection. Fear. Maybe both. And then your foot slips. You're falling into the water. But the water is the sky. You wake up gasping. Your heart is racing. You're covered in sweat. And for the first time in your very short, very confusing human life, you feel something new. Loneliness. Because whatever that dream was, whoever that dream was, you miss them. Even though they don't exist. You don't know it yet. But you've just had your first emotional attachment to a figment of your own imagination, which, when you think about it, is incredibly human. You lie there for a while, curled in fetal position, arms clutching your chest. You fall back asleep eventually, not because you feel safe, but because your brain demands it. Even in this harsh, prehistoric world, dreams find you. And one day, you'll find the words to chase them back. You're jolted awake by a rustle, not a dramatic, cinematic rustle, more like a soft, leaf-dragging whisper. But that's all it takes. Your body tenses instantly. You don't blink, you don't move. You're trying to locate the sound before the sound locates you. There it is again, just beyond the tree line. Something big, low to the ground, breathing too slowly to be small. You stay still, limbs cold and blood hot, eyes straining through the gloom. And now, here's the delicate balancing act that defines your early human life. You need sleep to survive, but sleeping could kill you. Every nap is a gamble. Every dose is a temporary ceasefire with the wild. You trade awareness for recovery, and the interest rate is steep. You're stuck in this biological trap. Your brain needs downtime to maintain the very alertness it surrenders every night. Fine, right. You tuck your knees in tighter. You try to become part of the dirt. You wonder, not consciously, but in that deep, humming way, that maybe there's got to be a better way to do this. Historians still argue whether humans evolved as prey animals first, or scavengers. Either way, the outcome was the same hypervigilance. Our ancestors were jumpy, skittish, and sleep-deprived. We didn't come from apex predators lounging under shady trees. We came from anxious bipeds who learned to nap like their lives depended on it, which they did. But something interesting begins to happen here. You've been sleeping in the open your whole life, but tonight, after that rustle in the dark, your brain throws up an idea, a weird idea, a new idea. You remember a rock overhang you passed yesterday, a narrow cleft in a cliff wall. It was dry. It smelled bad, sure, but it was a spot nothing bigger than you could crawl into. That idea, it starts to feel like a plan. So for the first time ever, you move before the threat strikes. You sneak off in the dark, retrace your own trail by moonlight, and crawl into the tight crevice. It's horrible. It's drafty. Something died in here at some point. There are suspicious claw marks along the side, but you wedge yourself in, back to the wall, and feel a strange sensation. Safer. This is the beginning of your first survival strategy. Around sleep, caves, rock shelters, dense trees, these become your nighttime allies. They don't make you invincible, but they increase the odds. And over generations, this idea of a designated sleep space sticks. Later, it'll become home. For now, it's just a hole where the monsters can't get me. Now that you're slightly less terrified, your body begins its descent into sleep again. Slow breathing, limp limbs, that weightless falling feeling in your gut. And then the dreams return. This time, the images are even stronger. You're running, but not away. You're chasing. Something is ahead of you, laughing in short bursts. A child, a sibling, their face is still a blur, but the emotion, it's joy, pure, infectious joy. It's the first good dream you've had in months, maybe ever, which is why it's such a bummer when you suddenly wake up to a spider crawling across your lips. You bolt upright, slam your head into the cave roof, and spend the next 10 minutes spitting and coughing while hunched in fetal position. Nature is nothing if not humbling. The day drags by. You do what you always do, wander, forage, drink questionable water. You find a dead animal and poke it a few times before deciding it's not worth the smell. Your legs throb, your shoulders ache. You're exhausted by late afternoon. So what do? You find another nap spot. Not out in the open this time. You're learning. You wedge yourself under a log, half covered in dirt, and let yourself drift again. It's a shorter nap, maybe 20 minutes. But you wake up with less pain in your joints. Your brain feels clearer, sharper. It turns out that humans weren't designed to sleep in one long chunk. We were made to nap, doze, and recover in patches. And it works. You start to figure that out instinctively. Another fringe theory even suggests that polyphasic sleep, the pattern of multiple short rest periods throughout a 24-hour cycle, may have been how humans first avoided predators and stayed mentally alert. So congratulations, you've just invented tactical napping. That night, you return to your spider cave, not because it's great, but because it's predictable. And in a world where everything wants you dead, predictable is a luxury. As you curl into the familiar smell of damp earth and stale breath, you realize something else. This sleep isn't just functional anymore. It's transformative. You're not just surviving, you're processing. You're starting to imagine, to dream consistently, to wake with hazy feelings and distant ideas that, while inexpressible, are beginning to shape how you act during the day. The line between night you and day you is growing blurrier, but in a good way. You're not just reacting now, you're remembering, planning, evolving, one restless, itchy, spider cave night at a time. Tonight, the world feels different. Not safer, never that, but quieter, like something has shifted. The air's heavier. You crouch by a cluster of dry branches, clutching a long stick with a strange black lump on the end. You don't know it yet, but you're on the edge of the greatest sleep upgrade in human history. You're about to meet fire, or more accurately, steal fire, because you didn't invent it. A lightning strike did, or a volcano, or maybe another creature stumbled across it and ran screaming into a bush. Either way, someone else found it first, and now it's your turn. You spotted it earlier glowing between rocks, still alive from a smoldering tree. You didn't go near it then. It hissed, it cracked, it was alive, and alive things were dangerous. But now, your curiosity wins. That's very on brand for you. You creep closer. The heat is stunning. It kisses your skin without touching it. Your eyes sting. You grab a dry stick from the ground, poke it into the edge, and watch as it changes. The tip glows. Smoke rises. Your brain screams to drop it, but your fingers hold on. You've just invented the prehistoric version of a flashlight. You don't have a destination for it. You just run stick flaring, feet pounding until you find a familiar ledge and hunker down. And for the first time ever, you don't sleep in the dark. The flames spit and curl beside you. The shadows still shift, but this time they retreat. Predators hesitate, bugs retreat. The warmth seeps into your bones. You sit, eyes wide, watching the colors dance. Eventually, slowly, you curl up beside your stolen light and drift off. This changes everything. Fire is a turning point. It doesn't just keep you warm or cook food. It extends your day. You now have light after the sun. That means time to think, to share, to look into the eyes of others, and, most importantly, to sleep without freezing to death. Historians still argue whether early humans mastered fire 1.5 million years ago, or closer to 400,000, but the effect it had on sleep is undeniable. Suddenly, nights weren't just danger time, they became usable time. You don't have language yet, but if you did, tonight you might have said, that was the first time I didn't wake up screaming. You do wake up, eventually, not from fear, but because your fire went out. Your precious stick lies cold and blackened. Still, you're okay. You stretch, you yawn. You survived the night. Again, the next evening, you go back to the burned tree. You want more fire. You don't fully understand why. Just that sleep near it felt better, deeper, less haunted. A new routine begins. Each evening you find embers. You carry them. You protect them. You learn not to breathe too close. You learn to shield the flame when the wind picks up. Eventually, you figure out how to stack dry twigs and coax the flame back to life. It's clumsy. It smells awful. You burn your hand more than once, but it works. And now, you're sleeping beside fire every night. This is your first real sleep environment. not a place, a condition, warmth, light, the soft crackle of safety. These things begin to shape your dreams. They even shape your schedule. You notice that with fire, you fall asleep more slowly. Your brain buzzes longer. Images flicker behind your eyes. Even before you drift off, you're not collapsing into unconsciousness anymore. You're slipping into it. Your first bedtime routine. One quirky study from modern sleep science suggests that firelight mimics the low blue light that tells our brains it's time to wind down. No one told you that. Of course, you're just instinctively drawn to the glow. Your pupils shrink, your heart slows. You feel still. Later, humans will formalize all this. Circadian rhythms, melatonin, sleep hygiene. But you're already doing it, naturally, like a champ. Your tribe, if you can call it that, starts to copy you. Others gather near your fires. They sleep close. You start to notice the heat of other bodies is a bonus. You don't sleep alone anymore. This is new and weird. You wake up with someone's foot on your face. Someone else is snoring loudly, and someone else is definitely drooling on your arm. It's a mess, but it's warm. Group sleep means group safety. More ears to listen, more eyes to watch. You rotate. Who stays up? It's not organized yet, just a feeling. You nap. They sit. They nap. You grunt back at anything suspicious. Eventually, these shared fire nights spark something deeper. You start to mimic each other. Breathing slows together. Movements sync. If someone stirs, everyone stirs. It's like your brains are learning to talk without words. And maybe that's exactly what's happening. Modern researchers call this co-regulated sleep. It's still visible in families, dorms, even hospital wards. When people sleep in groups, they affect each other's rhythm subconsciously. It's not just about safety anymore. It's connection, emotional, biological. And now it's yours. Tonight, you stretch out next to your fire. The stars blink overhead. Someone else snores softly beside you. Your face is warm. Your legs are cramped. You roll over, tucking a stick under your head, and exhale. You're not safe. Not completely, but you're safer. You're not comfortable, but you're no longer alone. And as the first true sleep community begins to hum quietly around you, your eyes close, and your brain, soothed by flickering firelight, carries you gently down into the dark. It's just after dusk, and you're already irritated. Someone keeps kicking you in the ribs. Someone else keeps muttering nonsense in their sleep. And that guy across the fire, loudest snorer in prehistoric history. You'd swear he's trying to summon something. Welcome to group sleep cozy, communal, and absolutely chaotic. You roll over with a grunt, yanking a dried tuft of grass over your shoulder like a blanket. It doesn't help. The baby across the pit lets out a sharp wail, then immediately goes back to sleep, having fully transferred their discomfort to you. This is your new normal. Once your little tribe adopted fire, sleep became a group activity. No more curling up in your private mud hole. Now it's a rotating mess of snoring, mumbling, twitching, and the occasional accidental elbow to the face. But also there's something comforting about it. The warmth of so many bodies, the soft chorus of breath. You still wake up at every strange sound, but now someone else does, too. And if one of you starts to doze off too deep, the others keep the fire alive, keep the noise low, keep the rhythm of the night moving. Historians still argue whether early humans had designated watchers or if everyone just took turns naturally. Either way, the system worked. You survive the night not alone, but because someone else is breathing next to you. It's weirdly beautiful. Also, deeply uncomfortable. You don't have pillows. Your bed is a mix of moss, twigs, and someone's knee. Your sleep posture is laughable, half-curled, one arm trapped under your chest, the other bent like a broken stick. You wake up with a beetle in your ear, but the fire stays lit, and somehow you're less tired than usual. Modern science calls this social thermoregulation, basically. You all help keep each other warm, like penguins, but with worse hygiene. Over time, this group warmth allows your body to relax, to spend less energy keeping you alive, and more energy dreaming, repairing, growing. One quirky theory even suggests that sleeping close together helps develop empathy, that shared dreams, shared sleep, and shared discomfort laid the foundation for our social bonds. You're starting to feel that. Last night, the snorer next to you whimpered in his sleep. You didn't know why, but you touched his shoulder, not for any reason you could explain, just instinct, comfort. And this morning, he grunted something that may have been thanks or stop touching me, but either way, it was a moment. Sleep is changing you, and you're changing sleep, because now you don't just have dreams, you talk about them, not with words, not yet, but with gestures. You mimic the fall you felt, the shadow you saw, the strange laughter echoing through the trees. Others mimic back, and suddenly the dream isn't just yours anymore. This is the beginning of something new, shared imagination. You're not quite telling stories yet, but you're close. And it all starts with that hazy morning after a rough night's sleep, when your brain is still in that soft, clay-like state where ideas can be shaped by breath, gesture, and flickering memory. One night, someone brings back a strange plant. It smells awful, looks worse, but they burn it in the fire anyway. The smoke is thick. You inhale. You dream deeper than ever before. Colors, spirals, voices. You wake up gasping, clutching your chest, eyes wild. And everyone else, same look, same shock, same breathless awe. That was something else. You don't know it, but you've just had your first collective altered sleep state. It won't be the last. Later humans will call these things rituals. They'll use herbs, mushrooms, chants, but right now, it's just another accidental discovery, one that unlocks a door in your sleeping mind and invites something strange inside. Dreams aren't just dreams anymore. They're experiences, shared ones, and soon they start to shape your choices. That place you saw in your sleep, you walk toward it. That shadow you dreamed of, you avoid it. Slowly, the line between dream life and daylight blurs, and your tribe starts to respect it. They listen when you wake up breathless. They notice patterns. They connect symbols. A bird in a dream becomes a sign. A fire in a dream becomes a warning. This is how belief systems begin. Not with rules, with sleep. You still snore. You still drool. But now, those moments of unconscious twitching have meaning, maybe even power. And as you settle into your usual pile of limbs and grunts tonight, something new flickers behind your tired eyes. The sense that what happens after you close them might matter as much as what happens before. You fall asleep with someone's foot against your ribs. The fire pops. The stars shift above. And in your dream, you see a figure watching from the trees. You don't wake up screaming. You just blink. And watch back. You wake to a pounding rhythm. Not thunder. Not footsteps. It's a sound you've heard before. Faint and distant. But now it's close, just beyond the fire. Coming from that person with the painted face and the necklace made of teeth. They're beating a hollow log with a bone. Slowly, deliberately. Everyone's awake. But no one moves. This is sleep, too, or at least the edge of it. A state between wakefulness and dreaming. A ritual. The person you're shaman, though you don't have a word for that yet, doesn't speak. They gesture, throw herbs onto the fire. The smoke curls in strange, spiraling shapes. Your eyelids get heavy. This isn't just about rest anymore. Tonight, you're being sent into sleep. Your first scheduled nap. Historians still argue whether early human rituals around sleep were purely spiritual or had practical goals like calming everyone down or signaling the end of a long day. But this much is clear: as fire and tribe life grew, so did the power of symbols and dreams. They were loaded with them. You sit cross-legged, heart slow, mind buzzing. The fire crackles. The bone drum keeps time. You inhale the sharp scent of the burned root. Your muscles soften. Your thoughts get bendy. And then darkness. You don't just fall asleep. You descend. There are animals, faces, a voice that feels familiar, even though it doesn't use words. You float, weightless. You see colors you don't remember seeing before. Not colors from daylight, colors made of emotion. Sad blues, rage reds, longing golds. You wake suddenly. Everyone is still sitting. No one has spoken. But you know something happened. And when you lock eyes with the painted person across the fire, they know, too. They nod. You nod back. It's not speech. It's not even a story. It's the moment where dreams become sacred. From here on out, your tribe begins to treat dreams like messages. Some people are better at them. Some wake up screaming and everyone gives them space. Others wake up smiling and get handed the best portion of meat, sleep, which once just kept you alive, is now shaping your status. And of course, the shaman's dreams matter most. They sleep longer. They sleep apart. They use herbs, roots, smoke. They go into sleep like a hunter into the forest, expecting to return with something important. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they just drool and mutter. Either way, you listen. There's a night when a child has a dream about fire falling from the sky. 2 days later, a lightning storm rolls across the valley and scorches 3 trees. Coincidence? No one says that. No one can say that. But you all remember the dream. You carve it into bark. A stick figure with arms raised, jagged lines above. The first illustrated dream. You've invented dream documentation. It's not accurate, but it's enough. Sleep is changing. Again, it's no longer just an escape. It's a task, a source of meaning, a potential warning system. The tribe watches who dreams well, who wakes calmly, who says nothing at all, You don't speak of bad dreams, not anymore. You keep those in your chest like stones. You start to understand fear in a new way, not just fear of predators, but fear of the unseen. The dreams that come for you again and again, the dark faces, the long shadows, the endless falling. One night, the shaman gives you a lump of smoldering resin. You hold it in a hollowed stone while you sleep. You dream of fire again, only this time, the fire has eyes. You wake up shivering. Later, while scavenging near the edge of the valley, you find a cave. Inside, claw marks, burnt ash, and, most notably, a wall covered in soot-black drawings. You don't remember doing this, but part of you does. They're dream symbols. Yours, others. You trace one with your finger, a spiral, a falling stick figure, a cluster of eyes. These aren't warnings. They're reminders. You're not just surviving anymore. You're building a map of the mind, of the night, of the impossible to name feelings that ride inside your dreams. And with every shared sleep, every vision whispered by firelight, you're laying the foundation for culture. Because the dream you had last night, it might change what the tribe does tomorrow. One quirky fact among many indigenous cultures: dreams were and are considered collaborative. Dreaming isn't private, it's part of the group's wisdom. Everyone benefits, everyone contributes, and somehow you've landed there just by closing your eyes at the right time, in the right smoke, with the right person beating on the right hollow log. Tonight, you curl near the fire again. No one speaks. The smoke is thick. You hear the drum start once more. You let yourself fall, not because you're tired, but because you're ready. This is sleep, a ceremony. You don't even notice it at first. One day, you just sit down and think, this spot's not so bad. Flat, dry, less pokey than usual. And then, almost without thinking, you clear the twigs away, toss a few rocks aside, maybe lay down a big leaf or two. You curl up on your side, inhale, and drift off. You've just made your first real bed. It's primitive, it's itchy. A colony of ants is moving in, but still it's intentional. That's the difference. You chose to make a sleeping space, not just collapse wherever your legs gave out. Your brain is evolving past barely survive tonight toward optimize nap conditions, and in doing so, you've taken another giant step toward being, well, you. Historians still argue whether early humans deliberately crafted bedding as far back as 200,000 years ago, but evidence suggests some kind of bedding layers of leaves, grass, even ash to keep bugs away has been around longer than expected. It turns out the desire to sleep without a beetle in your ear is practically a human birthright. You start small. A patch of flattened reeds, a few sprigs of moss. Then you get clever. You dig a shallow dip to cradle your hips so you don't roll into a tree root every 5 minutes. Then you pile grass in layers, testing how much it takes to avoid touching the cold ground. This is prehistoric interior design. And of course, once you make a comfy spot, someone steals it. You come back from foraging to find a younger member of the tribe sprawled across your makeshift mattress, mouth wide open, drooling onto your moss. You grunt, you stare, you grunt again, louder. They do not move, so you make another bed, better this time, on a small rise where the wind cuts less. You learn to weigh down the edges so the grass doesn't scatter. You even create a shallow fire pit nearby to keep warm without rolling directly into flames. You've created a sleeping zone, and now others copy you. Soon there are several little nests around the fire, none too close, none too far. Each one a little different. Some add sticks around the edges. Some line theirs with feathers. One guy insists on sleeping half buried like a carrot. You don't ask questions, and for the first time, your tribe starts to associate places with sleep. One quirky theory suggests that this was the turning point for property, not in the legal sense, but in the emotional one. A place you return to, a space you made, your sleep spot. It matters to you. You notice when it's been messed with. You defend it. You feel weirdly proud of it. You even start leaving little objects near your bed. A shiny rock, a carved stick. Not tools, just things. Decorations, almost not useful, but yours. You don't have shelves or nightstands, but you're getting close. Tonight, the fire is low. The smoke curls lazily upward. You ease into your little glass pile, adjusting it just enough that your hip bone doesn't grind against a stone. You fold your arm under your head. You close your eyes. And you don't just sleep. You settle. There's a difference. You're not bracing anymore. Not quite. You've created enough comfort, enough ritual, that your body allows a deeper kind of rest, one with fewer jerky wake-ups and more actual dreams. And the dreams, they're evolving, too. Tonight, you dream of rain, not the usual storm panic kind, but something slower, steady. You're standing under it, arms out. There's a rhythm, a beat. You wake up and find yourself tapping your fingers softly against your leg, like a memory you don't fully understand. That day, you gather materials not just for food, but for sleep. Dry leaves, soft grasses, bark that smells good when burned. You build your bed before the sun goes down. That's new. That's you preparing for sleep, like it's something to look forward to, which it is. And maybe, just maybe, it always has been. You just never had the means to shape it before. Later, societies will invent beds with gold frames and feather pillows. But this right here, this little pile of moss and smoke and intention, this is the blueprint. The ancestor of every cozy corner you've ever known. You stretch out, you sigh, someone nearby coughs, someone else mutters in their sleep. A baby starts to fuss and is quickly hushed, and for the first time, you feel a flicker of something strange and subtle, belonging. You're not just surviving, you're living, sleeping on purpose, dreaming on schedule, nesting like you mean it. And as the fire crackles low and your head sinks into your grass bundle, you smile just a little, then immediately frown, because there's a centipede in your armpit. You've barely shut your eyes when the screaming starts. Not human screaming, something worse, high-pitched, wavering, like a flute being strangled in a thunderstorm. Every muscle in your body contracts. Your arms whip out, your legs flail. Someone nearby yelps and falls out of their grass nest. The entire camp erupts into motion. It's nothing, just a bird. But that's the problem. Now you're awake, and you don't want to be, because lately, sleep has started to feel sacred, like a portal, and you are just on the edge of something beautiful. Something glowing, and now, thanks to a feathered shriek beast, It's gone. You settle back down, grumbling in your own wordless way. The fire's died, the moon's high, and something in the darkness watches. You know it's not real, but try telling that to your racing heart. Your dreams have started to get strange, not just odd, but heavy, complex. There are people who don't exist, places you've never been, a giant with bark for skin, a river that flows upward. You wake feeling like you've seen something you weren't supposed to, and you're not the only one. Your whole tribe has started dreaming more vividly and whispering about it. Not in full stories, language is still mushy and limited, but through gestures, grunts, marks in the dirt. And one recurring image keeps coming back. The dark things, shadowy forms, long fingers, faces where faces don't belong, creatures with glowing eyes who wait just beyond the firelight. Are they real? No. Probably not. But you don't take chances. You begin to sleep with a burning branch next to your nest. Others do, too. The flames keep the night spirits back, sort of. Historians still argue whether ancient myths of demons and monsters began as dream figures or real-world dangers exaggerated by sleep-deprived minds. But it's clear that fear of the night, the raw, gut-level terror of what lurks in the dark, was a foundational human experience. You live it every time your fire sputters out. One quirky fact in many cultures: dreams were divided into clear and dark. Clear dreams were messages, helpful, inspirational. Dark dreams dangerous, tied to sickness, madness, bad omens. You wouldn't have known the terms, but the feeling, oh, you definitely know the feeling. And your tribe has started taking it seriously. Tonight, the shaman walks the circle of sleeping bodies before everyone lies down. They scatter herbs, make strange signs in the dirt. Everyone watches. No one laughs. You're not even sure what they're doing. But when they finally sit and close their eyes, only then do you let yourself lie back down. The ritual has become the lock. Sleep is the door. And the night spirits, well, they still rattle the windows. You dream of something tall and silent. It doesn't chase you, just watches. You walk through mist, and there it is again. Closer this time, still motionless, still watching. You try to speak, but the air is too thick. You raise a hand, it raises one back, and then you wake. Soaked in sweat, you lie still, eyes wide. The fire's low, just embers now, but you're safe. Technically, you tell no one about the dream, but you draw the figure in the dirt anyway. Just a rough shape, a tall body, long arms, a round head with no face. Someone else sees it and adds to it 2 eyes, one large, one small. You grunt, surprised. They grunt back. You don't speak the same language, but you've had the same dream. Now things are getting weird. The tribe starts comparing symbols. Who saw what? When? Where? The shaman listens, nods, adds markings to their ritual log scratches in bark, rings of stones, small totems tied with sinew. You begin to map your dreams, collectively. It's primitive psychology, prehistoric myth-making. You don't know what you're building, but the blueprint is clear. Fear plus sleep plus memory equals culture. Night no longer belongs just to animals and silence. Now it has rules, meanings, beings. You tell yourself they're just in your head, that the long-fingered thing crouching by the tree was just another weird flicker from your twitchy brain. But still, you don't sleep facing the woods anymore, and neither does anyone else. Sleep has become a battleground. Between logic, what little you have, imagination which is expanding, and fear which hasn't gone anywhere, you still need to sleep. But now, it's something you prepare for, with fire, with rituals, with placement. You sleep close to others, back to the fire, face to the open, and always with one hand near a rock, just in case. The clouds move slowly overhead, stretching across the sky like worn linen. You're lying flat on your back, grass mat crinkling beneath you, your fingers absently playing with the edge of a smooth pebble. You're tired but not exhausted, hungry but not starving. It's rare, almost suspicious. There's no fire yet, no urgent motion around you, just the gentle lull between daylight and dark, the golden hour. And tonight, for once, you're not collapsing from sleep, you're choosing it. This is new. For most of your short, scratched up life, sleep has been reactive, something that happens when your body gives out. But lately, the tribe's changed. You're staying near water. There's food in a shared pile. There's enough shelter to take turns resting without a full-scale panic every 15 minutes. And with this strange new stability comes something you've never experienced before: timing. You now sleep at night, mostly intentionally. You start to notice when the sun dips and shadows stretch. It becomes a cue, a soft nudge, and even though no one says it's bedtime, everyone just starts moving slower, gathering closer, looking for their little nest spot around the fire. You're learning how to align your body with the sky. One quirky anthropological observation in pre-industrial societies: the concept of clock-based time didn't exist, but that didn't mean they were chaotic. Instead, people followed environmental signals, the color of the sky, the angle of shadows, the feel of the air. These weren't vague impressions. They were the day's rhythm, your rhythm. Tonight you feel it in your bones. You stretch, yawn, which starts a chain of yawns around the group, and lie down as the first logs catch. Someone adds green leaves to the fire on purpose. The smoke rises slowly, thick and soft. It keeps bugs away. It also smells like mint and wood rot, which is better than usual. You watch as the stars appear. First one, then a scatter, then the whole messy canvas. And your mind, like a flickering wick, begins to quiet. But sleep doesn't come immediately. Not anymore. Now there's a gap, a waiting period. You lie still, eyes open, heart slow, thoughts drifting like mist. This in-between time is oddly precious. You think about the river, the hill you climbed today, the strange flat stone that looked like a face. And then, without warning, you're asleep, only to wake up 3 hours later. At first, it's disorienting. You blink. The fire's still going, barely. Everyone else is asleep, except one figure sitting up, tossing more wood into the flames. They look half dreaming themselves, staring at the embers like they contain secrets. You don't move. You just watch. This is first sleep. You don't know it yet, but you've just slipped into a sleep pattern that will dominate humanity for millennia. Historians still argue whether segmented sleep, two major sleep phases, broken by a period of wakefulness, was the original human rhythm or a later adaptation. But evidence from medieval writings, tribal societies, and even lab studies suggests that waking up in the middle of the night used to be totally normal. And in this wakeful hour, strange things happen. You think, you fidget, you relive a dream, you remember something you meant to do today, but forgot. Maybe you quietly move a rock to mark that memory. Maybe you whisper to someone else who's also awake. No one speaks loudly. It's not that kind of moment. It's a quiet hum of connection, murmurs, a nudge, a shared stretch. Then, when your body decides it's time, you drift back into your second sleep. You don't measure how long. There's no hourglass, no water clock, just the return of heaviness in your limbs. Your eyelids droop again, and you sink, peacefully this time, into the second round of dreams. And these ones, they're different, slower, fuller, less fragmented. You dream of walking through tall grass, but the grass is golden. Each blade whispers your name. You bend to listen, and the world turns soft, like breath on a mirror. You wake at dawn, peacefully. There's no panic, no animal snarling, just the quiet hush of other bodies rising, one by one, like a tide. And now, something even stranger happens. You start planning your next sleep, not because you're exhausted, but because it feels good. You like the fire, you like the cool of night, the softness of moss, the quiet rustle of sleeping people around you. You want to go there again. You want to sleep the way you want to eat or laugh. This is the beginning of a preference, not just a survival instinct, a desire. You're turning sleep into something pleasurable, comfortable, yours. You gather more leaves today, smoother ones. You layer them. You pluck burrs out of your moss bed. You place a rock nearby, just the right height for your arm to rest. You don't know it, but you've invented the side pillow. Tonight, you'll have your segmented sleep again. Fire first, stars next. First dream, middle thoughts, second dream, and maybe, just maybe, the dark-eyed figure in your dreams will smile this time. You open your eyes slowly, expecting the now familiar smudge of dawn light and the low muttering of someone failing to start a fire. But instead, you hear footsteps, not the soft padding of bare feet or the clumsy scurry of a half-awake hunter. These are structured, deliberate, almost rhythmical. You sit up, blinking at the rising sun, and then you see it. They're walking in rows, not many, just enough. Their hair is braided, their robes dyed with clay and ash. They wear sandals, and they carry strange square packs on their backs. They don't look like your tribe. They don't look tired. They walk like they know where they're going. Welcome to the early cities. And with cities come rules, including rules about sleep. You follow them quietly, from a distance. They don't see you, or maybe they do, and they just don't care. You pass rows of woven structures, mud brick shelters with holes near the roof, stone fire pits, a river lined with clay jars. This isn't just survival anymore. This is society. And society means someone else decides when you sleep. You linger at the edge of the camp, until you're spotted. Someone calls out. You flinch, but they wave you forward, offer food. You eat. You sit. Eventually, you are assigned a space, a corner under an overhang. It's not much, but it's dry. And that night, you sleep. Kind of, it's different. You're not alone anymore, but you're not with your people either. The fire burns low, but no one sings. No one beats a drum. No one draws spirals in the dirt. It's quiet, but not peaceful. This is the first time you feel watched, not by animals, but by other humans. Rules here are subtle. You eat when you're told. You move when the group moves. And most importantly, you sleep when the work is done. That's the catch. Your new family rises with the sun. You carry baskets, haul water, scrape grain, repair walls. There's structure, purpose, and exhaustion. Sleep becomes something you earn, not something you just do. Historians still argue whether early urban dwellers had less sleep than their hunter-gatherer ancestors. Some say yes, more structure meant less rest. Others argue that fixed homes allowed deeper, safer sleep. But there's no debate that sleep became part of the system. You're now a cog in it, and that comes with hierarchy. The man in the gold collar, he sleeps alone, on a raised platform, with animal skins. You, on the other hand, sleep near the door, on straw, next to someone who snores like they're trying to exorcise themselves. You've just discovered sleep inequality. One quirky detail recorded in ancient Egyptian tombs pharaohs often had ornate beds carved from cedar, inlaid with ivory and gold. Meanwhile, workers and servants slept on mats, in shifts, often without privacy. The gap between rich sleep and poor sleep was already real and already ridiculous. You're living it. Your dreams get weird again. Shorter, sharper, full of crowds, dust, lines, instructions shouted in languages you don't understand. You wake up with jaw pain from clenching your teeth. Still, there are comforts. The roof keeps the rain off. The fire is maintained by others. You go to bed knowing someone else is awake, tending the flame. And then something new. You're woken in the night by soft music, pipes, a slow drum beat. You rise, peek through the curtain of woven reeds, a ceremony, not of sleep, but of wakefulness. They're honoring the night, watching the stars, whispering names of constellations. They don't fear the darkness here. They chart it, own it. This changes something in you. Sleep isn't just safety anymore. It's strategy, culture, performance. The priest sleeps at dusk, wakes at midnight, and chants until dawn. The laborers sleep in bursts, staggered by work shifts. The children nap in the afternoon, wild and fearless. It's not better. It's not worse. It's just structured. You adapt. You learn the rhythms. You sleep when told. Sometimes you sneak a nap behind a clay jar when no one's looking. Sometimes you lie awake, listening to the city hum. And one day, you wake up feeling rested. It's rare, almost suspicious. You stretch. You breathe. You look at the people sleeping around you, some curled in corners, some sprawled across mats, one face down in a pile of lentils, and for a brief moment you think this might work. Not forever, not perfectly, but for now, you've traded freedom for routine, and while it's strange, it's no longer terrifying. You dream of water running uphill, of pyramids made of feathers, of a man with a golden headpiece who places his hand on your brow and says something you can't understand. When you wake, the sun is just cresting the horizon, and for once, you don't rush to stand. You savor the stillness, because sleep, however controlled, is still yours. Even here, you lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, not the sky, not anymore, a real ceiling, heavy, timbered, groaning softly in the night air. Somewhere nearby, a torch crackles. Your room smells like oil, leather, and overripe fruit. Outside, people are still walking, still talking. It's the middle of the night, and you are wide awake. Welcome to Rome. You're no longer in the world of hunter-gatherers or fire-lit tribes. You've upgraded to civilization's bustling, chaotic heart, paved roads, bathhouses, wine, theater, bureaucracy, and insomnia. So much insomnia. It turns out, being part of an empire doesn't make sleep easier. It just makes your life noisier, even this late. The city murmurs, dogs bark, a cart rattles over cobblestones, someone yells something about figs. You can't see them, but you can picture it 3 floors down. Some neighbor arguing with a seller at the 24-hour fruit stall. You sigh and roll over. The bed beneath you creaks. It's wooden, lumpy, stuffed with something that may have once been straw, but now just feels like rocks in a cloth sack. You miss your moss. This sleep situation is starting to feel performative. You're in a room. You're supposed to be asleep, but your brain won't cooperate. You toss. You think. You toss again. Sleep, in ancient Rome, was already a scheduled inconvenience. You go to bed late because of dinners that last 6 hours. You get up early because someone bangs a stick outside your door to announce the sun has risen. And if you're rich, your bedchamber is far from the kitchen and the servants. If you're not, you sleep in the kitchen or next to the goats. Historians still argue whether ancient Romans considered insomnia a medical issue or just a philosophical inconvenience. But we know they wrote about it, complained about it, even tried to philosophize it away. Perhaps, a poet might say, lying awake. The gods deny me rest, so that I may better reflect upon the fleeting beauty of the stars. No, Marcus, you just drank 6 goblets of wine and shouted poetry at the moon until your neighbors moved out. Sleep was broken here, and not in a small way. People napped during the day, especially after lunch. The meridiatio, short, purposeful, and absolutely sacred. But night sleep, that was unpredictable, fragmented, interrupted by candles, stomachaches, neighbors, or philosophical self-loathing. You rise from bed and walk barefoot across the cold stone floor. Outside, the torches are still burning. A guard nods as you pass. You nod back. No one questions your presence. This is common. You're not alone. You climb a short staircase, find a quiet terrace, and sit. You watch the sky. Even this is sleep. Kind of. It's that second phase again, the wakeful void between 2 stretches of slumber. Only now it's filled with lamps, snacks, and long sighs. Some people use this time to read. Others write letters. Some just walk. processing dreams or anxieties, or the questionable oysters they had for dinner. One quirky historical note: the Roman writer Pliny the Elder recommended eating lettuce before bed to induce sleep, but not too much, or you might wake with heaviness in the stomach and poetic urges. This period of insomnia isn't just tolerated, it's expected, built into your day like taxes and toga folding. Eventually, you return to bed, not with enthusiasm, but with hope. You lie flat. You count the tiny cracks in the ceiling. You listen to the creak of wood settling, the sigh of a pigeon on the windowsill, the plip-plip of water leaking from a badly sealed jar. And then, slowly, sleep takes you, just for a while, long enough to dream. This time, it's a mosaic, a giant tiled room. Every tile is a face, some familiar, some unknown. They all turn toward you at once and open their mouths. You wake up gasping. Again. And now, it's nearly dawn. There's a whisper of light against the window cloth. A distant bell tolls. The city is about to wake up. Officially, you didn't really sleep. Not fully, not deeply, but you got something. A fragment. And maybe, in this world of letters, scrolls and relentless dinner parties, that's all you get. You throw on your tunic, stretch your sore limbs, and step outside as the first street vendors begin their chants. Another Roman morning, another half-rested heart. You wake up, and it's still dark. Not middle of the night dark, but that thick, muffled kind of blackness that smells like wood smoke and stew and damp stone. You're in a room the size of a cupboard, under 3 layers of wool blankets that smell faintly of mutton, and you are very aware of how much pie you ate before bed. Welcome to medieval Europe, where no one actually sleeps through the night. The church bell hasn't rung yet, so you know it's not morning, but you're definitely awake. And so is half your village. Your neighbor is already up, whispering a prayer. Downstairs, someone's stoking the fire. And you're lying there, full of meat and regret, very much not asleep. This is the golden age of segmented sleep, a pattern so normal. It had a name: first sleep and second sleep. People expected to wake up in the middle of the night, not because of stress or insomnia, but because that's just what humans did. Historians still argue why this rhythm was so common. Was it a leftover from prehistoric patterns? A response to artificial lighting or the lack thereof? Or maybe it was just practical. If you're going to burn your only logs for heat, you might as well use those hours of flickering light. One quirky medieval custom during this midnight gap gossip. No, really, people would rise, tend the fire, relieve themselves in the chamber pot, say a few prayers, and then talk. Whispered conversations in bed, secrets shared under blankets, plans made. Sometimes even visitors dropped by, quietly knocking on neighbors' shutters for a little socializing. You hear a creak in the floorboards above you, then a muffled thud, probably someone getting up for a midnight snack. That's another thing they don't not eat in the middle of the night here. If you're wealthy, maybe it's a wedge of cheese and bread soaked in warm ale. If you're not, cold gruel it is. You sit up and wrap yourself in a coarse wool tunic. The fire downstairs is glowing softly. There's a pot hanging above it, and the smell of stewed onions, and last night's meat rolls over you like an old dog. You grab a hunk of bread, chew slowly, and stare into the flame. You've slept for 4 hours. You'll probably sleep 4 more. But right now, you're in the in-between, the quiet middle, the soul hour. Your dreams were vivid. Again, you saw a stag with human hands, a door made of feathers, a child laughing in a field of skulls. You can't explain it. No one here can, but they matter. Everyone agrees on that. Dreams are signs, messages, warnings. You'll mention the stag to the old woman in the square tomorrow. She'll nod, mutter something about fertility or betrayal, and offer you a sprig of yarrow just in case. You climb back into bed before the fire dies. The wool is scratchy but warm. You pull the covers over your head and drift again into second sleep. And this time, it's heavier. This is when the deepest dreaming happens, when the body repairs itself, when the mind knits together memory, fear, desire. Your breathing slows, your body curls into itself, and your dream begins where the last one left off. The stag returns, only this time, it speaks. You don't remember the words exactly, just the sound like wind in a pipe, like church bells underwater. You wake to the bell tower tolling 8, a deep, metallic groan that shudders through the wall. People are moving, horses clop outside, a baby cries next door. The town is waking up, and your second sleep is over. You stretch, yawn, toss on a cloak, and fumble for your shoes, which someone has thoughtfully turned upside down so spiders can't move in. And you step outside into the grey morning light. There's no coffee, no alarm clock, just the taste of fire on your tongue, and the lingering hum of a dream you can't quite shake. You walk past the chapel. A woman is lighting candles inside. A man nods at you from a cart piled with hay. You both look tired, but in that soft, used way, like you did sleep. Not all at once, not perfectly, but enough. This rhythm suits you. First sleep, wakeful hour, second sleep, prayer, pie, quiet reflection, fire watching, dream following. You think, maybe this isn't so different from how it's always been, just dressed in stone walls and church bells instead of mammoth bones and open skies. Tonight, you'll eat your stew, say your prayers, curl into your straw-stuffed mattress, and drift once again into the velvet gap between sleeps. And if the stag comes back, this time you'll ask it a question. You're kneeling on cold stone, head bowed, eyes burning with sleep. The room is dim, lit by a single, flickering candle that's mostly wax and not much light. Around you, rows of tired figures sway gently, robes rustling like leaves. Someone coughs. Someone else lets out the kind of slow, muffled yawn that sounds dangerously close to a moan. You are in a monastery, and you are fighting a war against sleep. It's the middle of the night, and you've been called to matins, the first of many monastic prayer sessions that dot the entire 24-hour cycle. This one's around 2 a.m., because apparently that's when God is really paying attention. You don't argue, you chant, sort of. You mumble syllables in a Latin you barely understand, your voice joining the thin murmur of others, forming a sleepy, half-melodic drone that bounces off the stone walls like a spell cast by someone who's just barely conscious. This isn't rest, this is ritual. You've taken vows, poverty, obedience, chastity, and, unspoken but definitely included, unreasonably complicated sleep schedules. Historians still argue whether monastic sleep patterns were meant to deepen spirituality or simply imitate angelic vigilance. But whatever the reason, the effect is very real. Your body is a ship trying to stay afloat in a sea of interrupted sleep cycles. You went to bed around sunset, slept for a few hours, got up, prayed. Now, if you're lucky, you'll stumble back to your cell and catch another fragment of rest before the next bell rings. And God help you if you fall asleep mid-chant, because yes, there are consequences. One quirky record from a Benedictine monastery describes a sleepy monk who was doused with cold water after snoring through a hammock. Another was made to kneel on dried peas as penance for nodding off while copying scripture. That's right, medieval monks invented the world's first workplace disciplinary system for napping too hard. You shuffle back to your cell, body stiff, mouth dry. The candle stub you're carrying drips hot wax onto your fingers. You don't flinch. You've done this too many times to flinch. Your bed is a wooden plank, literally. A hard surface with a thin layer of straw and a wool blanket folded neatly at one end. No pillow, no mattress, just a slab to keep your soul humble. You lie down, not with comfort, but with intent. Sleep is not pleasure here, it's obedience. You're not supposed to love it. You're supposed to use it wisely, sparingly, like a holy resource. 8 hours unthinkable, that's indulgence. You sleep in intervals, short, rough, and never quite enough. But and here's the twist, you start to like it. Not the exhaustion, not the ache in your joints, or the sudden whiplash when you jolt awake in the middle of a psalm, but the rhythm, the order, the steady, echoing pattern of waking, praying, resting, waking again. It's reliable. The world outside may be chaos plague, famine, war, all the usual medieval amusements, but in here, inside these cold stone walls, your sleep is a discipline. And eventually, it shapes your dreams. They're less chaotic now, more structured. You dream of open books, golden letters glowing in the dark, of towers stretching into clouds, of voices that sing in languages you don't know, but understand completely. Your second or third sleep of the night brings visions of peace, quiet forests, rivers of ink, rooms of candlelight and parchment. You wake up changed, not rested, exactly, but oriented. Every breath, every blink, every bone-deep sigh is part of something bigger. Even your dreams feel organized now, as if your subconscious has joined the monastery too. You spend your day copying scrolls, gathering herbs, tending the garden, preparing the chapel. But part of your mind is always holding space for the next rest, the next glimpse into the sleeping world that somehow feels more orderly than this one. And on rare occasions when the night is still, the chant is steady, and no one's being splashed with cold water, you fall into sleep, right where you sit. Not out of disobedience, but as if some divine force pulled you downward into the quiet again, just for a moment, to show you something. You wake up seconds later, heart calm, breath even. The line between waking and dreaming blurs, and maybe that's the point. Maybe, in this cloistered world of bells and robes and echoing halls, sleep isn't a separate part of life. It is life. tucked between psalms, woven into silence, a prayer of the body that no one hears but everyone understands. You lie in bed, but you're not alone. Around you, the air is thick with incense. There's a candle flickering at your feet. A wooden cross hangs overhead. You try to ignore the rats scurrying behind the walls, or the soft wheezing of the person 2 pallets down who hasn't opened their eyes in 2 days. You're in a medieval sick house. And sleep is no longer just something you need, it's something you fear. Everything smells like smoke, sweat, and vinegar. You're wrapped in a scratchy wool blanket. You're not sure if it's to keep you warm or keep your limbs from shaking too much. A bundle of dried herbs has been stuffed under your pillow, not for scent, but as a kind of protection. Against what? That's not clear. They say it keeps the bad air out, the humor's balanced, the spirit's distracted, but no one says it will help you sleep. That's just something you hope for. You shift on your straw-stuffed cot, bones aching. You're not even that sick, really just caught a fever last week. Or maybe it's fleas, or something in the bread, or maybe you just looked pale and someone made you lie down. Regardless, you're here now, resting, waiting, and sleep. Once a comfort, now comes with baggage. The plague has swept through more than once. It never gives notice. One day someone's snoring beside you, the next day their bed is empty. Or not quite empty, just quieter. So now, every time you close your eyes, you wonder, will I wake up? Historians still argue whether people during the Black Death understood contagion in any modern sense. But what's clear is that they absolutely feared sleep during outbreaks, because sleep meant stillness, vulnerability, and sometimes, the last time, you curl up tighter. Try to listen to the nuns murmuring prayers at the far end of the hall. One of them walks past your cot, checking faces, adjusting cloths, whispering blessings. You pretend to be asleep. You're not sure why. Maybe you think if she skips you, that means you're not sick enough to die. The candle flickers. You watch the flame. You breathe slowly. Eventually, you drift. And in your dream, the room is empty. Just rows of beds. Clean, white, bright light pouring in from unseen windows. No rats, no moaning. Just the sound of wind rustling through paper. You sit up. You're alone. You feel safe. Then a voice says your name. You turn and wake up. The candle is out. The nun is gone. The person next to you is still breathing barely. You close your eyes again. Sleep comes in patches now, a few minutes at a time, interrupted by coughing fits, fever dreams, or someone wailing out of nowhere. You've learned to sleep with one ear open, one eye half cracked, one hand on your chest, as if you could somehow keep your spirit from floating away. The healers bring you a cup of broth and a sleeping potion, something dark, bitter, spiced with cloves, and something you're not meant to ask about. You drink it because saying no would be rude, and also because you desperately want to sleep without dreaming. And it works. Sort of. Your limbs go heavy. Your head rolls to one side. You sink, not gently, but with weight. Like falling into mud, your thoughts scatter. Your breath evens. And for the first time in days, the darkness doesn't come with whispering voices or shadowy hands, just quiet. One quirky note: many medieval sleep tonics used poppy extracts, mandrake, henbane, or belladonna, powerful sedatives that could knock you out cold or kill you, depending on dosage and luck. It's a blurry line, much like your vision right now. You sleep for what feels like a year, then jolt awake to a slap of cold water on your forehead. A nun is leaning over you. You blink at her, groggy and disoriented. She smiles. "You're still with us," she says softly. Not quite to you, not quite to herself. You don't respond. You're too busy trying to remember the dream, the quiet room, the voice, the feeling of peace. It's already slipping away, but you slept, truly, deeply, despite everything. And in this world, this brutal, black-robed, rat-crowded world that might just be a miracle, tonight you'll lie down again. Your body bruised, your lungs tight, your hands trembling, and you'll whisper your own prayer. "Let me wake." Sleep has never been so close to death, but somehow it's also never felt more like a kind of mercy. You're swaying, not metaphorically, you're literally swinging back and forth in a fabric sling strung between two beams, and your shoulder keeps bumping into the wall every time the ship rolls. Your nose is full of salt, your ears are full of snoring, and your mouth tastes like old fish. Welcome aboard. You're a sailor now. And sleep is an acrobatic miracle. Your bed, if you can call it that, is a hammock. Not because it's comfortable, but because it doesn't roll you off onto the floor every time the ship leans. The first few nights were awful. You spun, you fell, you woke up tangled like a badly wrapped scroll. Now, you've figured out the angle, the right way to hook your leg, the trick to pinning your elbow under the edge so you don't flip over in your sleep. Progress. You're in the lower deck, wedged between barrels of salted meat, ropes, and other sailors who treat bathing like a suspicious mainland myth. The smell down here is a combination of mildew, sweat, tobacco, and socks that gave up long ago, but you're too tired to care. You've been on deck since sunrise, scrubbing, pulling, bailing, shouting. You got rained on twice, slapped by rope once. You haven't eaten anything that wasn't soaked in brine in at least a week. And now, after 16 straight hours of creaking wood, lurching waves, and someone yelling about a missing chicken, you finally have your turn to sleep. Historians still argue how much sleep sailors actually got in the age of sail. Some say 4 to 5 hours in broken shifts. Others say it varied wildly depending on rank, weather, and whether or not someone had just thrown up on your blanket. But there's one universal truth. Sleep at sea was not rest, it was survival. You swing lightly in the darkness, one foot braced against a crate. The wood creaks with the rhythm of the waves. Someone a few hammocks over is talking in his sleep. Someone else is snoring with the kind of effort usually reserved for sawing lumber. Your eyes close, and then you're awake again. No idea how long it's been. A minute, an hour. Someone just shouted all hands. You fumble for your shoes. Your back cracks like an old door. You're not even fully conscious, but you're already climbing the ladder. Storm coming. Again. One quirky record from an 18th century ship's log mentions a sailor who fell asleep standing up while scrubbing the deck. His crewmates left him there as a joke. He stayed upright for an hour. Legendary. You're not quite at that level, but you're getting there. After the storm passes, more wet, more shouting, more ropes, you collapse again into your hammock. This time you skip the boots, skip the shirt, just roll in and try not to think about how wet everything is. You fall asleep before your legs stop twitching, and you dream, not of home, not of land. You've been at sea too long for that. You dream of sails, giant ones, billowing like lungs, a ship with no ropes, no crew, just you, and the sky so wide it bends. You're not flying, you're floating. It's quiet, and then a cannon goes off. You're not dreaming anymore, just another ship testing their powder stores, but your brain doesn't care. You're awake, heart racing, body covered in cold sweat. This is how it goes. Sleep in small bites, never enough, never deep, always close to the edge of alertness, because the sea doesn't care if you're dreaming. It wants your balance, your energy, your vigilance. But even here, even rocking in a hammock held up by salt-stained ropes, your body finds some rest. Not all the time, not enough, but enough to keep going. You adapt. You sleep curled like a shrimp. You sleep with your boots on. You sleep while holding a bucket. You sleep through lightning, swearing, singing, vomiting, and once a sword fight, because your brain has learned the sailor's trick when the moment comes. Take it. No planning, no stretching, no lavender oil, just sleep, hard, fast, right now. And if you're lucky, you wake up with both boots and only mild back pain. Tonight, the waves are calmer, the ship hums, your hammock rocks like a mother's hand, and in your dream, you walk across water barefoot, because out here, the line between dreaming and drowning is thin, but sleep is still yours. You roll over, slam your hand down blindly, and miss the alarm bell by 2 feet. Too late. It clanks anyway loud, mechanical, no mercy. You groan, sit up, and rub your eyes, which feel like someone's been sanding them all night. It's not even light outside. Welcome to the Industrial Revolution. You, my soot-streaked friend, are a factory worker now. You live in a cramped brick tenement with 4 other bodies and 0 insulation. The bed is more like a bench. You share it in shifts. 2 sleep while the other 2 work. It's called hot bedding. Romantic. Right. You trudge across cold floorboards. Your boots are damp. Your shirt smells like metal. You haven't had a full night's sleep in weeks. And the worst part, you're not alone. This entire city is groggy, overworked, underslept, grimy from the kind of progress that lights up streets and burns out lives. Historians still argue whether industrialization shortened the human lifespan primarily through pollution, dangerous machinery, or just plain exhaustion. But there's no debate on one thing: it broke our sleep. Before this, people followed natural rhythms, with candles and firelight. There was no shame in early bedtimes, slow mornings, and naps during harvest seasons. Now there's the whistle. That cursed, soul-puncturing whistle, every morning, same time. A shriek of metal that announces your 14-hour day starts now. No matter how well or how poorly you slept, you shuffle into the factory. Dim gas lights flicker overhead. The air smells like oil, sweat, and ambition. You work your machine. It roars and spits and rattles. You do the same motion hundreds of times. Your eyes droop. Just a second. Just a blink. You nod off, standing up only to be yanked back by a shout. You're lucky. The guy 2 stations down just got his sleeve caught. He's gone now. No one stops the machine. Sleep is dangerous here. Not because of dreams, because of what happens when you try to have them. And yet, you dream anyway, sometimes while eating, sometimes while walking home. You drift into these weird micro-sleeps, these tiny cracks in the day where your brain snatches 5 minutes of silence and slaps a dream on top of it. They're never long, but they're vivid. One moment you're staring at gears, the next you're walking barefoot through a golden field. Then someone drops a wrench and it all snaps away. Your nights are no better. You return to your bed when someone else gets up to take their shift. The mattress is warm, not pleasant warm, used warm. You lie on your side, facing the cracked plaster wall, and pretend you're somewhere else. You sleep in fits. You wake to coughing, to shouting outside, to nightmares of gears chewing through your feet. But you sleep, because your brain still has to. One quirky historical truth workers during the industrial age often lived in rotating sleep cycles. A family of 6 might share 2 beds, taking turns based on work schedules. Sleep was rationed, like bread. If you got 5 uninterrupted hours, you were doing great. And yet, amidst the coal dust and clock towers, something else starts to change. People start to miss sleep, long for it, not just out of fatigue, but nostalgia. They write poems about rest. They paint sleepy children and dusk-draped cottages. They romanticize sleep because it's become a lost world, something stolen by steam whistles and wage slips. You become one of those people. You start keeping a notebook, in secret, late at night, by a single candle. You scribble half-coherent thoughts about your dreams. A woman in red, a spiral staircase, a house you've never seen but swear you belong in. You don't know why you're writing, but it helps. Makes sleep feel like something bigger again, not just recovery, rebellion. Because the factory owns your hours, but not your dreams. Not yet. One night, you sleep too long. You miss the morning bell. You're late. You arrive breathless. Guilt riding you like a second skin. But something's changed, Yarsa. You feel almost human. You had a dream. A full one. A beginning, middle, and end. You were flying over the rooftops, toes grazing chimneys. You looked down and saw the factory and laughed. You don't tell anyone, but you remember. Sleep might be broken, but it isn't gone. And in the cracks of progress, in the stolen moments, the quiet between shifts, the heavy-lidded sighs behind soot-smudged curtains, it still waits for you. You step into the room, and it hits you like a scented slap lavender. The bed is huge, the mattress plush, the pillows perfectly fluffed like white clouds, waiting to cradle your overpriced, overworked skull. Everything is soft, everything is quiet, everything promises sleep. You're in a department store, testing mattresses, again. Because in the modern world, sleep isn't just something you do, it's something you buy. Everywhere you look, cooling gels, memory foam, weighted blankets, sleep masks with built-in headphones, smart mattresses that track your REM cycles like a Fitbit for your subconscious. You can even order sleep coaches. Real people who call you at 9 p.m. and remind you to put your phone down and sip herbal tea. You lie back on the demo mattress. It costs more than your first car. You sink an inch. 2. The sales rep appears at your side, whispering sweet nonsense about spinal alignment, airflow zones, and lumbar responsiveness. You nod. You have no idea what any of it means, but it feels like you're doing something important, because sleep is now a project. Historians still argue when exactly sleep became a marketable lifestyle choice instead of a bodily function, but the Industrial Revolution and the exhaustion it caused definitely helped. Fast forward to the 20th century, and sleep is no longer just health. It's status. You sleep well, you must be doing something right. You don't sleep, better spend a few $100 to fix that. You're not just tired anymore, you're failing at sleep. And the advertisements know it. They haunt your feed, your subway rides, your late night scrolls when you're ironically too exhausted to sleep. Tired all the time, maybe it's your mattress, or your posture, or your breathing, or your life choices. Enter the sleep economy, a quirky but very real industry, now worth over $400 billion globally. Includes everything from mattresses to melatonin gummies to nap cafes in Tokyo and $300 silk pajamas that promise to rewire your circadian soul. You name it, someone's selling it, and you're buying. You own 2 kinds of pillows, 3 kinds of teas, a sound machine that mimics rainforest rain, ocean waves, and gentle fireplace, whatever that means. You've got blackout curtains, light-blocking eye masks, blue light-blocking glasses. It's like your bedroom is preparing for war against light. Still, you don't always sleep well. You lie down and start to think about emails, about a noise in the hallway, about that thing you said 5 years ago. Your brain, once fine with drifting into dreams without ceremony, now requires a full shutdown sequence. Unplug, stretch, hydrate, meditate. Breathe in for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8, and then just maybe you'll fall asleep before your brain suggests you Google symptoms of mild heartburn or demonic possession. But let's say you do fall asleep. It's not simple anymore. Now, you track it. You wake up and check your app. It says you slept 6 hours, 43 minutes. You hit deep sleep twice. You moved 12 times. Your heart rate was slightly elevated between 3 and 4 a.m., possibly due to a cheese-related dream crisis. Your run was short, very short. It gives you a score 74/100. You groan. You feel worse than you did before, because even though you slept, now you've judged it, and the numbers say not good enough. This is the modern sleep paradox. You've got more tools, more knowledge, more comfort than any human in history, and yet you still lie awake more nights than you'd like. You wake up groggy. You dream of being chased by spreadsheets, and somehow all this optimization is making it harder to rest. Because now, sleep isn't something you fall into. It's something you chase, desperately, exhaustingly, expensively. You're trying to win at sleep, but here's the truth. Your ancestors knew the ones curled in spider caves, the monks on dried peas, the Roman pacing under moonlight. Sleep isn't a performance. It's not a competition. It's a surrender. And all your gadgets and graphs can't fake what your body has always known sometimes. You just need to shut your eyes and trust the dark to catch you. Tonight, you close the apps. You turn off the ambient glacier rainstorm noise. You lie down. And for once, you don't try. You just let go. And sleep returns. Not because you earned it, but because you finally stopped earning anything. You lie in the dark. absolutely still. Your bed is perfect, ergonomic, hypoallergenic, memory foam that hugs you like a lover who's read the manual. You've optimized everything, no caffeine after 2 p.m. Blackout curtains sealed like a bank vault, your phone on sleep mode across the room, your smartwatch dutifully pulsing its wind-down vibration through your wrist. And yet you're awake. Again. Your eyes are closed, your body is tired. But your brain has other plans. It replays a conversation you had this morning, then one from last week, then one from 8th grade. It cycles through deadlines, articles you didn't finish, texts you haven't replied to, laundry you haven't folded, and somewhere in all that digital chatter, a thought slips through. What if this is just how people are now? It's not a bad thought, just heavy. You carry it into your mattress like a rock, tucked under your ribs. Because here's the thing, even with 6,000 years of sleep history, you're still wired like a cave person trying not to die. Your ancestors didn't have alarms, or blue light, or Twitter arguments at 2 a.m. They had wild animals and mysterious dreams and fireside yawns. But biologically, you're still them. Same brain, same sleep cycle, same needs. And that, right there, is the problem. Modern life moves faster than your brain's ancient operating system can keep up with. It expects you to hustle by day and power down like a light switch at night. But you're not a light switch, you're a fire. You flicker, you fade, you flare up at midnight because someone mentioned your name in an email. You dream in symbols even you don't understand. You wake up wondering if anyone else also dreamed about walking through a house with too many doors. One quirky discovery neuroscientists recently found that the brain cleans itself during sleep, literally flushes out toxins. So if you feel foggy after a terrible night, it's not your imagination you're marinating in yesterday's brain trash, which is why, despite everything, despite the chaos, the technology, the noise, you still crave it. Real sleep, not just not being awake. The kind of sleep that unknots your spine and silences the background noise and gives you a few hours where time doesn't matter and effort dissolves. And when it happens, it's magic. You feel it coming like a tide, the muscles softening, the breath deepening, that click in your brain that says, we're safe now. It's okay to go. No app can fake that. No pillow can buy it. It's ancient, automatic. Yours, you drift, and the dreams return. But now they're gentle. A lake, a bird, your childhood bedroom, inexplicably full of spaghetti. Your brain's little weird movie theater, doing its best with the budget it has. You wake slowly, like mist lifting off water, and this time you feel rested. Not because of the mattress, not because of the supplements, because something in you finally aligned. The old rhythm, the buried instinct, the part of you that's still a barefoot sleeper under the stars, dreaming of animals and fire and faces without names. You stretch, you breathe, you stand, not fully awake, not fully changed, but just rested enough to try again, because sleep, in all its weird, fragmented, sacred, broken, beautiful forms, has never been about doing it perfectly. It's about returning, night after night, life after life, dream after dream. So now, let your breathing slow, Let your body melt into whatever soft thing you're lying on: couch, mattress, hammock, even just your favorite corner of a creaky old bed. You've traveled far tonight, through caves and castles, through ships and factories, through rooms filled with incense, steam, or silence. You've been the first human, the monk with heavy eyelids, the sailor half asleep in his boots, and through it all sleep was there, sometimes reluctant, sometimes wild, sometimes whispered like a prayer. You don't need to chase it. It's already moving toward you. That warm tide behind your eyes, that little tug in your belly, that soft, slow weight in your limbs, those are your signals. Ancient ones, older than language, older than kings, older than every alarm clock and ceiling light and email you forgot to answer. Let go of needing to do anything now. Let go of the pressure to rest well, and just rest as best you can. The world will keep spinning, the dreams will come, and if they don't, that's okay too. Your body still knows how to heal in stillness. You're not broken, you're just human. So breathe, settle, drift, and may sleep find you kindly, the way it always has. Good night.